If we can get that back to your ship, we can warn the Earth that the sharks aren't to be trusted. That is a line that somebody got paid to write. It's also a line that somebody got paid to film, and a line that somebody got paid to say on camera in Shark Side of the Moon, a Tubi original from The Asylum, because anytime there is a really, really, really monumentally stupid, bonkers idea involving monsters of any variety, you can almost guarantee it's a lock that The Asylum is going to be involved. Or sneaking around and being like, you guys going to use that? Going to use that? Going to use that? Going to use that really bad idea? You're going to use that really bad idea? Hey, we could use that idea. Just give it to us. Give it to us. Come on, we'll pay you money. And then we'll put absolutely no thought or money into this. And then we'll just make something called Shark Side of the Moon. So yeah, it's a Tubi original. So you have to know what you're getting with a Tubi original. In case you're wondering what Shark Side of the Moon is actually about, Soviet scientists created half-human, half-shark hybrids for whatever ungodly reason. I don't even really, other than being a weapon against the United States, I don't know why they thought creating half-human, half-shark hybrids that are uncontrollable and thought that they could control them enough to unleash them on the United States. Apparently they thought Jaws Revenge was a really bad idea and said, we could do it even worse. This is also hinging on the fact that when this movie, the opening of this movie is supposed to be taking place, that Jaws Revenge had not been thought of. Jaws hadn't been thought of. But anyway, yeah, it's about killer sharks, half-human, half-shark hybrids on the moon. So any other thoughts that are put into this movie really are just fucking gravy. Gravy on shark meat, which apparently is a delicatessen somewhere. I have no fucking idea. Delicacy. This is, it's directed by two people. I don't know why two people needed to direct a movie called Shark Side of the Moon, but it's from Glenn Campbell. Boy, the way Glenn Campbell plays, those were the days. And Tammy Klein, who also had a bit part in this. Visual effects compositor and visual effects supervisor for various movies. And also they directed a movie called Planet Dune. Not to be confused with the wrestler Peter Dune. If you're a non-wrestling fan, you have no idea what I'm talking about. This was written by two different people. Two directors and two people wrote this. For a movie called Shark Side of the Moon. Maybe it was the fact that one of the writers went down with the fact that they were just, their brain melted from having to write a movie called Shark Side of the Moon. Ryan Ebert, not of Siskel and Ebert fame, or Ebert and Roper fame, or whatever Roger Ebert is doing. Oh wait, Roger Ebert has been dead for a while, but they still have the .com domain going. He did Apocalypse of Ice. Okay. And Anna Rasmussen. No, I need to retro-review Anastasia at some point. She did a movie called Blood Lake, Attack of the Killer Lampreys. So right there, you know that this movie isn't necessarily going to be anything great. It stars nobody of really any consequence. I wrote a few names down. Maxie Wittrock and Michael Devi. And a guy named Terrence Livingston Jr., which is a name that sounds way too snooty to be in a film like this. There was also Tanina Fox. Tanina Fox. Non-wrestling fans are so confused right now. Wrestling fans that deep dive into shit and have long memories like I do, you will absolutely be dying laughing. So yeah, the USSR created half-human, half-shark hybrids, and in their brilliant idea of having uncontrollable half-human, half-shark hybrids, two scientists said, here's an idea. They're killing everybody. Let's send them to the moon. And one sacrifices himself by rushing to get the other guy out of there. Yes, there's going to be a few bad jokes here. And the archival and, current footage of like astronauts training and then astronauts doing the running, dun dun da 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 da, sharks on the moon. But anyway, they send the sharks to the moon. Well, one guy sacrifices himself because he was rushing to get out of this film. That's right, I'm putting upon myself to come up with these puns here. And there's a guy named Sergey that basically takes the sharks to the moon. Why? Why not crash it well, you can't crash it in the ocean, but you could just had the ship blow up in space. I don't think they would have been that unkillable, and they also aren't very unkillable, as we find out. So anyway, we then get some U.S. astronauts. They go on a trip to the moon. They're going to terraform shit, and they're going to help create towns named after us at some point. Yeah. The level of dialogue and writing in this is not exactly crisp or good, and in fact, I'm pretty certain the concept and the dialogue was written on the back of various used napkins from a local Denny's, and a local dive of a Denny's, not even one that has been kept up since the 1980s. But nevertheless, it's called Shark Side of the fucking Moon. And also, okay, so let's just I'll get into spoilers here in a bit, not the spoilers fucking matter here, but it turns out these astronauts crash into a whole bunch of stuff because they can't figure out how to plot. They hit turbulence in space. How they hit copies of that Ray Liotta, Lauren Holly movie, I have no idea. And the fact that I remember that exists is really troubling. So they take out the satellite. POD has got to be pissed. If you're not a longtime music fan, you probably don't get that. The ship is damaged. They have to come up with a way to get home. Maybe you could have not been idiots and actually had more than 5 minutes of astronaut training. So it turns out that there are sharks out there. The sharks are burrowing under the goddamn ground, because why not? They took that wrong turn at Albuquerque and literally ended up on the moon somehow. But Sergei is still alive, and he's got somebody with him. And from there, we have a movie where they have to figure out what the fuck's going on. Yeah, to say that this movie should have any logic put into it is actually fucking ridiculous. The shark attacks are ridiculous. The sharks can communicate in Russian, and they are plotting to take some themselves and some embryos home to their home planet where they were created and take over. So it's like that movie Life in 2017, except with slightly better acting and less stupid characters, which is saying something because the characters here are really dumb. There was one hilarious moment in the beginning before they go to the moon, where a shark punches a guy, and he punches him in two. Again, it's called Shark Side of the Moon. I don't really think that we're expecting much from this. And from there, we have a movie that involves a lot of bad green screen effects. A lot of bad green screen effects. Granted, I don't expect much from The Asylum, but the fact that they did all 6 Sharknado movies, and they've done other movies that were at least kind of competent as far as special effects, this was really, really bad. Granted, I think the budget was probably found under the ashtray at said local Denny's that I referred to earlier, so they probably weren't going to be able to come up with much. But man, these green screen effects were back from 1992. That was bad. But nevertheless, things basically go tits up, and the astronauts have to find their way home. Again, it's called Shark Side of the Moon, so what the fuck do you expect? If you expect much from this, I didn't even expect much, and I will say that of all the Tubi originals that I have watched, while this is certainly one of them, is also one of the least offensive ones I've watched, because there's at least a breezy pace to it. Sure, it's stupid. It's bonkers. There's half-human, half-shark hybrids on the fucking moon. But it's not like Unborn, where it took itself way too seriously. This, at least, I think, tried to lean into the comedy a little bit, though it should have leaned a little bit more. It wasn't as egregiously straight as Aquarium of the Dead, but at least it ended up having a fun, breezy feel to it, though there were moments that were starting to drag, because again, when you have a concept of half-human, half-shark hybrids on the moon, you don't really have anywhere to go except up into the goddamn stratosphere, even though the moon doesn't have that. So yeah, let's just get into spoilers. Like spoilers fucking matter, with a movie called Shark Side of the fucking Moon. 3, 2, it's on Tubi. 3, 2, 1. Spoilers. Okay, that Sergei guy's alive. He's got an adopted daughter that actually is a half-human, half-shark hybrid. He was kicked out of the tribe or the group or whatever by the leader. And also one of the astronauts is captured. Gets his leg hacked off at one point, points out where the ship is. They can't use the Cold War technology from that ship because there's not enough room. Despite the fact that spaceship looked pretty goddamn big, there's enough of these people, enough of these half-human, half-sharks, where they've created their own colony. Now, rather than maybe make base and maybe, keep this base going and make their own ship and launch it to fucking Earth with all these, no, they decide the best course of action is to get offed occasionally by some of these inept fucking people and then take their ship and go home. They manage to create a colony and create their own oxygen and their own way to breathe, and also, reproduce without even having to have sex. They can just asexually reproduce, or whatever the term was that they actually came up with in this. But yeah, oh boy, there is an Elton John reference, which I'm sure he's turning over in his grave and he's not even dead yet. because Sergei saw him in concert. He saw Rocket Man. Gee, I wonder what that's symbolism for. I will also say that as far as moon logic and moon rocks, oh wow. MST3K. I will say as far as that, it is at least better than Apollo 18, but then again, I have shat things out better than Apollo 18. Fuck Apollo 18. Fuck the fact that movie even exists. But they use the whole life finds a way, nature finds a way. Ooh, deep. They have spears made out of like moon rocks. Oh, wow. And they spear people. They pull on the spear and do... This does not look like pulling on a spear at all. I just realized that after I started doing it. Anyway, they spear some of the sharks, but then they lightly smack away at these abominations. And they just start doing that. No wonder they weren't spearing people. They were doing that. But nevertheless, the leader talks to this Akula girl, Tanina. Folks, okay, I already said that. You're the bridge between humans and sharks. And then you have to come up with a way after some of the crew gets off because they are stupid. And then other members of the crew come up with a way to like plot the way home. But oh no, we didn't account for the fact we're on the dark side of the moon, on the shark side of the moon, and we only have 24 minutes and 37 seconds. You said 4 hours. Yeah, well, I'm not good at math. Because you take that chance and then it's a 66 2/3% chance. And then you add that and you have 141 2/3% chance of losing a sacrifice. So, there you go. Didn't think you get a Steiner math promo here, did you? Badly done one. The idea here is Sergei says, well, hey, my daughter, go home. I will crash my ship into this colony, blow stuff up because there's magma in the moon that'll launch. Which is better than what was in the moon in fucking Moonfall. If you've seen, you've seen. So he blows that up. Sharks get fried. They get everybody, the remaining people, get tossed into the belly of this giant shark moonworm thing. I have ridden the mighty shark moonworm. And then they ride the mighty shark moonworm back to Earth, where the body shatters upon impact. They end up in their life raft, and there's Akula, there's like 2 other characters, a commander, and one other guy. I think that was Terrence Livingston Jr. Of course, I stopped caring at one point, a.k.a. when the movie was called Shark Side of the Moon, so the characters don't matter. But oh no, Akula suddenly is giving birth because they can asexually produce, and now there's all these sharks around and everything, and it's like life, except I actually would watch a sequel to this more than I would a sequel to Life. Fuck Life. Fuck the fact that exists. And I mean the movie, not life itself. Or maybe I do mean that. Maybe it's life as we know it. Enough babbling. So, this movie... It was an F for as far as a movie. It was an A for entertainment, so it gets a C overall. I mean, it wasn't a great movie, but then again, keep your expectations really, really low for a movie called Shark Side of the Moon. So yeah, C. I mean, I guess it was entertaining. I won't watch it again, but it was entertaining enough. Agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.